Hello, everybody, and welcome to Quest,
the Adventure Game Podcast.
Jess, we have such an exciting day today because he already got it. You know, when we talk about when we have guests, there's one thing that happens, and it happens right away, which is that we play the theme song. And some of our guests pick up our psychic message, which is you have to dance to the theme song.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I was holding myself back because
No, you're bopping. You're bopping. We can see the
bopping.
bop. Yeah.
I was bopping. Okay. I don't know if does that count as dancing?
That counts.
All right. So I was dancing. There we go.
Yeah. No. We're all sitting down with headphones on and all of that. That's fun.
I think, if anything, it's just proof that it was really worth paying the $30K to license that theme song. I mean, it worth every penny. I mean, just good stuff. That's Mark Mothersbaugh playing that of Devo fame. Yeah, it was hard to get him, but worth every penny.
Yeah. But yes, today we're joined from Wadjet Games, Dave Gilbert. Hello,
Hi.
Dave.
Hello.
So
I just outed myself as a bopper, so oh well.
There you go.
Like,
Yeah.
as long as you're not big and don't get on a plane, you'll be fine.
Oh, good God! Wow.
Too soon, Ben.
Wow,
Come on,
man.
man. We have a guest here. That was not very La Bamba of you.
Oh my God. Well, we're off like a herd of turtles, aren't we?
Oh my God, rails already.
Dave just disconnected.
Oh no!
What?
In a fury? No.
Oh, I thought you said I'm like, no, I'm still here. What are you talking about? It was a joke. I get it. I get humor. Good.
How are you, Dave? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm good, thank you. It's rare that I record podcasts so late, but time zones and stuff.
It's a nighttime record.
Yeah.
It was, having done, and I'm sure you've done this too, like podcasts like with friends internationally. That means that it could be at any time.
Yeah, although usually it's folks in Europe, so it's usually the opposite. Like I'm usually on the earlier side, so it's rare that I'm later than the person interviewing me.
Yeah, the latest I've recorded was on an Australian podcast, which would be
Yeah. It is funny. Occasionally, Ben and I will get the chance to record in the morning if we're both not at work, and we are like two completely different human beings at 11 a.m. versus the evening hours. And boy, I would love to listen to a podcast from those two guys. I think it would really be a great experience to listen to. But you get these two guys instead, so you make do with what you can.
When I did my previous podcast, we would sometimes record early in the morning, sometimes record at night, and there were a couple listeners that would actually say that was a morning record, that was a night record.
That means those are the real fans who can tell the difference.
Yeah. Eagle-eared listeners.
So let's talk about something really important, which is so Dave. You moved recently to Pennsylvania, the Keystone State. How long have you been there?
We moved August of 2024, so almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. So, and when I was DMing you, I previewed this question, which was, do you have an opinion on what which Pennsylvanian convenience store is the correct one? This would be Wawa or Sheetz.
Honestly, we haven't been to Sheetz yet. There's a Wawa very close to us, so we go there. But we haven't been to Sheetz. At least I haven't. Maybe my wife has, but I haven't.
My feeling is that Wawa partisans are considerably more strident in their hate of Sheetz, whereas Sheetz people are like, yeah, I'll go to Wawa. That's my understanding as a non-Pennsylvania.
I think that Sheetz hasn't tried to cultivate that sort of following behind it. Like, it's cool. It's like, we're just a gas station with some food, man. But Wawa really wants you to like buy into the cult of personality there. I think there's a big Sheetz is a lot more secure in itself. I think is what's going on there. I'm a Sheetz man. We have Sheetz everywhere around here.
Sheetz is in West Virginia?
Ben, I'm in a town with 3 stoplights and we have 2 Sheetz. Sheetz is everywhere. You go in there, you get yourself like 2 hot dogs and a medium drink. That's gonna run you like $3.
So
it's amazing.
You're saying your town is full of sheet.
It's full of sheet. Absolutely.
There we go. Someone had to make that joke. I'm just fulfilling the will of the universe here. That's what I'm doing.
So what do you get at Wawa? Is it a grinder situation? Is that what people love about Wawa? What are we doing at Wawa?
Usually we get sandwiches. Like, it's just if we can't bother. We haven't gone that often because we have a Trader Joe's within walking distance. So whenever we need something quick, we usually go there because I find Trader Joe's better. So that's where we go.
Wow. Walking to a Trader Joe's,
it's great, and they just opened up about 6 months ago, so it's like we're really happy. We're like, all right, because we used to drive to the one a whole 10 minutes away. Now we walk, and we could just fill up and come back home.
Our international listeners, Trader Joe's is a grocery chain, which I don't think it's anywhere other than the U.S. Maybe Canada. Maybe
the evil U.S. offshoot of Aldi. Like, when Aldi came to the U.S., it split into 2 companies, right? Like, you had.
I think there's some.
Yeah, I think there's like some strange story there. So I think Trader Joe's is like Aldi's evil twin brother.
But everybody loves Trader Joe's.
I didn't know there was lore. Lore. Gosh,
this will be 2 episodes straight with a lore reference. We're doing great here.
Behind
this is perfect.
the Joes.
You're dialed in.
But I mean, walking distance from a Trader Joe's is the dream because there's no such thing as a Trader Joe's without a nightmare parking lot.
Ooh, actually, the parking lot's not so bad. Probably because it's new and not everyone knows about it yet. I know when I was living in the East Village of Manhattan, there was a Trader Joe's that opened up close to my neighborhood, and the line was out the door.
Yeah,
like you could not it was just everyone just out on the street on the sidewalk with their carts because the line, they just were not prepared for how many people were really desperate for a Trader Joe's because groceries are so expensive in New York especially, and you have Trader Joe's, everything is like half the price and really, really good. And so everyone flocked to Trader Joe's. So yeah, it's always no nightmare parking lot, just nightmare in general.
Well, there was a deep hunger in New York to have light conversation with someone in a Hawaiian shirt as they checked out your items. Now, Dave, are you much a potato chip guy? Because I have a potato chip recommendation, but if you're not much
honestly, I'm very boring when it comes to potato chips. I don't like anything flavored, just like salty. Like, I'll eat Pringles. I'll get like I'll eat a whole can of Pringles if you put one in front of me. But for the most part, I'm pretty boring when it comes to potato chips. I just like them plain.
I'll make this recommendation.
Any kind of flavoring, it's just no, thank you.
Yeah, so you're not going to like this recommendation then.
Probably not.
I am going to finish it for anyone listening, which is Middlesworth Kettle barbecue chips. I think I've already made this recommendation on the podcast. They are tremendous.
Trying to score that sponsorship.
Ben's
always working the angles. Yeah.
My daughter might like them. She likes potato chips, so she might like those.
They are. So I have a lot of family in Pennsylvania, and we for many years would like do our summer full big family rent a house in the Poconos. And we would just get dozens of bags of them because we would just demolish these chips. It would be like 2 or 3 bags a day
each.
Wow.
But anyway, so with that preamble, I'll throw to you first, Jess. Jess, what have you been playing?
Oh, wow, Ben. Well, I got an email a few days ago asking me to apply for a closed beta. I haven't found out if I'm in yet, but I got the email. It's like, please sign up if you'd like to sign up for this. It was the Tropico 7 closed beta, which made me reinstall Tropico 6. And I've been playing Tropico 6 again lately. I love the Tropico series. If anyone out there is not familiar with Tropico, it is at this point like one of the elder statesmen of the like city management style games. It's you are essentially El Presidente of a small Caribbean island. You're building up your industry and your city there while enacting laws and other sorts of things to maintain control over the island. And the great thing about the Tropico series is, I think even more so than the average strategy city builder type game, everyone is exactly the same. You go back to Tropico 1, it's like straight through to Tropico 6. Very little has changed, which is very comforting for me. I don't need a lot of new features. I just want a few cool new buildings I can build every few years. And yeah, I've been playing Tropico 6 to warm up for Tropico 7. It's a game that I have, like, I want to write something about the Tropico series. I've been wanting to write something about it for a while. And there's not a lot written about Tropico, like in academic circles. I don't see a lot about it necessarily on gaming websites. I'm working on an essay in my head. I'm going to write something about Tropico.
There's a heavy political element to these games.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it is, you're passing edicts on everything from, sort of suffrage to church and state kind of stuff, all the way down to like subsidizing certain industries and things like that. So there's definitely a political angle alongside the just laying out city grids sort of stuff.
Well, and also, I mean, I haven't played up to the more recent ones, but also, like, isn't a large part of the Tropico games playing off like the great powers, like
absolutely
the United States and the Soviet Union?
Yeah, you are constantly trying to balance relations there. Like if you enact too many pro-communist style policies, you risk things like a U.S. liberation taking place, or vice versa. Later in the series, you have to court China and the EU as well in your trade policies as you get into the more recent years. There's a lot of fun stuff. I mean, it's like I said, the game has felt very the same since it launched, just prettier and bigger and everything. But yeah, I always enjoy coming back to it. I think probably out of that style of genre, I've spent far more time with Tropico than I have like SimCity, which is a game I also love, but I'm a Tropico guy. I also just enjoy, it has lovely Cuban music that plays throughout all of it. Yeah, which that alone, a good Cuban soundtrack is always a treat when playing a game like that. So that's why I've been playing Tropico 6, fingers crossed. Pretty soon I'll be playing the closed beta of Tropico 7, but you'll never know because I'll be under an NDA. We'll get to this segment next time, and it'll just be one big long beep because we've had to redact what I've been playing for the sake of the NDA. I'll still talk about it, but we won't be able to share it with the listeners. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. Dave, what have you been playing lately?
I just started a game called, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce this. I'm really digging this music, by the way. It's hard to focus on what you're saying because I'm bopping again. Aethus, or Aethus. I just read about it on the Buried Treasure website the other day, and I hadn't heard of it. It was apparently made by some Rockstar Games alumni, and it's not normally the type of game I play, but it's kind of like a base builder kind of thing where you're on this this sci-fi miner on a claim that your grandfather had, and so you're kind of going deep into this mine, gathering resources to like bring back to your base to build more equipment to go deeper into the mine, and trying to uncover the history of what happened there. And it's just really engaging. It's just a very simple gameplay loop. It's I'm finding it a lot of fun. It's not normally my thing. I decided to try something new, and I'm kind of enjoying it. It's I also played. I got into these kind of games because I played The Alters last year, and I loved that. So I'm like, maybe I like this genre. I don't know. So I just started playing this, and I like this too. So, yeah, Aethys.
I am not familiar. I'm just pulling both of these games up on Steam.
It just came out like about a week or two ago.
The Altars looks really neat.
Oh, Altars is really good. Really good. Like it merges the narrative and the gameplay so seamlessly. It's like you want to keep going just to talk to these guys more. It's really, really good. Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, let me wish list this. This looks really neat.
It's a very pretty game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Altars and
Aethys.
Aethys.
Now, digging deeper and
AETHUS.
deeper into space mines seems like it could potentially run the risk of awakening a space Balrog, which you have to be
It hasn't
careful
happened yet. Has
Okay,
not happened
good,
yet.
good.
You have a funny robot with you. He's kind of fun.
Ooh.
But yeah, and they all have Scottish accents, which is interesting.
The robot or just the people?
Both of you have Scottish
okay.
accents, so that's kind of cool.
I bet that takes extra programming on a robot.
Yeah.
Hello, doggy. Hi. Or is that that's a cat? Never mind.
That's a cat. That is Jess's cat Blood Clone.
Blood
Yes.
clone.
It's a long
Your
story.
cat is named Blood Clone.
Well, my cat was born with a rare condition called pituitary dwarfism that made her itty bitty tiny. And my wife's a veterinarian, and to save little Blood Clone's life, she gave her a transfusion of our other cat, Jax's blood, which helped kickstart her system, and eventually with some other treatments managed to help her grow to full size. But somehow our daughter started calling her Blood Clone as a result of the transfusion, and then
There you
that's
go.
just her name. We call her BC most of the time, so it's a lot less creepy. And it reminds us of that great comic strip, BC.
But inevitably it leads to people asking you why the cat's called
Yes.
Blood Clone, and then you
Yes.
get to tell the story. So there you
Yeah,
go.
that's right. Yeah, I mean,
Icebreaker.
she's a little miracle kitty. So, there you go. Ben, what have you been playing?
Oh, brother, what have I been playing?
What haven't you been playing?
What haven't I been playing? That's the better question. Board game night has continued apace for me, and as I said, we have not returned to the board game version of Slay the Spire now that the sequel with co-op is out. It's made me a little sad. I still think we'll go back to it, but last night on Board Game Night we played Lords of Vegas, which I don't believe I've spoken about on this podcast. Lords of Vegas is a tremendously fun board game where you and the other players are land developers in 1950s Vegas, building casinos. And the purpose of the game is to build the largest and most sprawling casinos on the strip, and you do so through constant expansion and spending money. And one of the great mechanics in the game is that you can gamble in each other's casinos.
Oh.
And when you gamble at another player's casino, where the odds are in the house's favor, but if they lose, you take the money directly from them. Which means that, like so many other strategy games, you should be kind of planning ahead, and where should I put this piece, and where do I want, what do I want to do next? And then you're doing some math in your head of okay, well, I need to spend X, Y, and Z, and then some prick it just washes you for 20 million, and your whole plan just completely collapses. That's great.
I'm looking at this game on BoardGameGeek.com. And Ben, is it fair to say that this game has roughly 900 pieces? I've seen countless cards and mini dice and chips and like all kinds of other crazy stuff going on here.
Well, everybody I think gets 10 or 12 dice.
Okay. Wow.
So you get a lot of dice. That's Vegas, baby.
Bag. Yeah, you gotta have a velvet bag for that many dice. You can't just carry those around.
It is like, like so many other games that aren't like Parker Brothers games, like it feels kind of a little intimidating at first. That's right. I'm
Shots fired.
John and Larry, the famous Parker Brothers. But like so many games, like when I'm reading off the rules to my friend last night and reading, like dryly reciting rules from a manual, especially as somebody that is just constantly tempted at all times, like to make a joke and to entertain and to do stuff, like is the most torturous and miserable thing. But it's actually
Isn't
pretty
that
straightforward.
basically running a podcast?
Yeah. But yeah, I highly recommend. I think it's just an excellent board game. I have a lot of fun playing.
It looks fascinating. I love the concept.
But yeah.
Oh, music
Now,
stopped.
the music has ominously stopped. So we're going to get to the topic at hand, which was, I believe, a week ago, maybe a little longer. I think it was during GDC. You, Dave, you said, I'm not going to be at GDC, but Wadjet Games is 20 years old if anyone wants to talk about it.
And we were like,
And here you are.
please.
And here you are.
And that
yeah.
seems, I don't know about you from the inside. From the outside, that seems impossible that it's been 20 whole years. I mean, maybe from the inside it feels like 60. I don't know.
I don't know if it's, I mean, it doesn't seem impossible, but it does seem ridiculous. Because, I mean, I guess all it took was time, but it just doesn't seem like it's been that long. And when I started, I honestly did not expect it to last 2 weeks, let alone 20 years. If I did, I might have chosen a better name than Wadjet.
And I've been saying it wrong, apparently.
I'm starting to think it's too late now to change it, so I'm stuck with it. But that's all good. Yeah, it's 20 years this year. I think when I released the Shivah, it was either the freeware, the original freeware version of the Shivah was either beginning of July or beginning of June. I don't remember. One of the two. But the commercial version was released in August. So this summer it'll be 20 years, which is nuts.
Wow. And, I think I've seen some people talking about this on social media too. When we think about like back to that golden age of Sierra and LucasArts, that is comparatively a very short time frame. Like you think about how many adventure games LucasArts put out, and you've outpaced them by a good bit at this point in terms of just pure adventure game output. Right?
I mean, to be fair, like they were able to get stuff out a lot quicker than I do. So there's a lot. They have a much bigger catalog, but yeah, I mean, it's just very different. I don't have to worry about, shipping and logistics, and I don't have a staff of like 100 some odd people. I don't have to manage an office. It's like I just have to worry about myself for the most part, and and the handful of people who work full time and the freelancers, and that's about it. I keep things very simple and manageable, and I try not to, spend more than I can afford, or do more than I take on more than I can, bite off more than I can chew, as it were.
Yeah.
So I've just sort of kept going, which doesn't seem miraculous, but considering all the studios that are closing up shop and laying people off, I feel extremely lucky and blessed, just because I'm still around, and I still feel pretty stable as a company.
You mentioned the fact that, given the advances in, online storefronts and everything like that, you don't have to worry about physical media. You don't have to worry about shipping and those sorts of logistics that go into that. It's funny, I teach at a university and teach a course on sort of the politics and economics of video games. And when I talk to my students who are, mostly 20 years old and have grown up in the era of digital storefronts, I think that a lot of them don't realize how much that transformed the opportunities for independent because they take that for granted. They live in a world where indie games have always been around and where, everything could go straight to a digital storefront. And maybe if you're lucky, it gets a physical edition someday.
You had to have a whole shipping department and logistics, and you had to have a warehouse to store everything. And when you're dealing with physical stuff, and you had to deal with stores. They can only keep your stuff on the shelves for a limited amount of time.
Oh yeah.
Once once no one's buying it anymore, they're not going to stock it, and that's it. You're done. So basically, now I could sell my games forever. They're always going to be on, because there's infinite room. There's it's always going to be there. Games I made 20 years ago, people are still buying because they're available. Buying a game, that was available in a shop 20 years later is a lot harder to find, and usually it's used. The money doesn't go to the creator, it goes to the it's like whoever is selling it.
That reminds me of when I was like a little kid and kind of going through, like I would look through like the Sierra catalog and I would see a game that I would be really excited about, like see something, let's say Lorabo 2, because that's what Jess is playing right now. And I would see it and I would get my mom to call, and they would say, "Oh, we're sorry, that's discontinued." And that was so, like, I was just like, discontinued? What does that mean? Why can't I have it? Can't they just?
That's when you go to KB's. That's when you went to KB Toys.
That's where
and
I got
looked in the bargain bin.
$20.
And you would get even less than that. Like I would sometimes find. I remember finding Police Quest 2, and it was like in an envelope. It didn't have any. It was just. I didn't care. I didn't care about boxes. I just wanted the game. It had like the discs and like a photocopied manual. And that was it. But I was like, I got to play the game, but it was like $5, whatever.
Oh, I loved that KB Toys bargain bin. I would dig. I think, oh my gosh, I got Rex Nebular out of there at one point. I got the Lost Treasures of Infocom is one that I remember picking up out of the KB Toys.
That's what I grew up on. A lot of folks say LucasArts or Sierra. I was Infocom.
Oh, what are some of your favorite Infocom games? Because we had a New Year's resolution episode back at the beginning of the year, and one of mine was I need to play more Infocom games. It's a blind spot in my gaming. So what would you recommend?
Mine Forever Voyaging is kind of brilliant. I love the Enchanter series. I've never replayed the Zork games, but I love Beyond Zork. That one's really good. Not Return to Zork, Beyond Zork. That one's really good.
Big distinction.
Brian Moriarty with like some light RPGing.
Yeah. He also did Wishbringer, which was the first game.
I love Wishbringer. I've talked about how much I love Wishbringer on here.
That was the first one I played. I love that one. The Planetfall series, of course. Although Stationfall is so hard to play. It's so sprawling. Like, the last time I tried playing it, I'm like, I'm lost. I don't know where I am. And then I die of hunger. In the game. What else? I mean, they did so friggin' many of them. Again, very prolific.
They were extremely prolific.
When you look at the years they were actually in business, they did so much. Yeah, they were not in business for very long. And they did so much.
A thing, and I was talking to Jess a little bit about this, that I'm a little curious about is, so you came out of that early period of like kind of the like early AGS games, adventure game studio games. Like you did a Reality on the Norm.
You done your research.
Game.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, a friend of mine, I was talking to a friend and I asked them, like, what should I ask Dave about? That, he made a very good Reality on the Norm.
I made 4 of them. Which one?
You made 4. Okay.
I made 4. Yeah.
The one that they shared was the one with death in it. I don't know. Maybe that was.
Oh, that was the very, very first one first game I ever made. It was called the Repossessor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it says a lot about my state of mind because it was just after 9/11 when I wrote that, and I was kind of like I had been laid off from a job like a few months beforehand, and 9/11 happened. You know, I lived not close to it, but reasonably close, like being in New York especially, and I had no desire to like leave home, and I discovered AGS, and I made a little game in a weekend, and it was The Repossessor, where you play the Grim Reaper. I mean, it was funny, you know, basically, because the thing about Reality on the Norm, for those who don't know, it was, I don't know what you'd call it. It's kind of like an open source world.
It was a really clever idea.
Yeah, where one person, I mean, they kind of got together and came up with the idea of like some characters and how the town would be laid out. And it was actually Yahtzee, you know, Ben Croshaw, Zero Punctuation guy, who made the very first one. It was about like a teen wizard who raises a zombie. You know, Harry Potter just started to come out back then. And my game was about death coming to claim the soul of that zombie who is now running for mayor, and then in the end the zombie convinces Death to be his campaign manager. And what's kind of funny is that it's kind of you create a story and then see what other people do with it, you know, and then in later games like Death becomes, you know, like becomes the mayor. He like becomes the mayor's assistant and like works in the office, and it's like it's just sort of funny to see where other people took my idea, and then when I made a new game I would take other people's ideas and do stuff with it, and it was very collaborative and very fun. But there was only so long that could last, because it wasn't long before, you know, there were just too many damn games, and unless you were there from the beginning, it was very overwhelming to see like 20, 30 of them. Yeah, to see like 20, 30 games and be like, I'm not playing all these, even though they're all very, very short, most of them. I could see why it would not attract new people to the series, because they're just too many. And back then, you know, you had to download them as well. You couldn't play them in a browser. So, yeah, it could only last very long, but I feel very lucky to have been part of that, because that really, it was the first time where I was like really being creative and then getting feedback on it, and like kind of, you know, it felt like a group project, even though each individual game we all worked on individually. And that without Reality on the Norm, I probably would not have gone on to make other games, because I just wouldn't have been inspired. Because like just the fact that I would release a Reality on the Norm game and people would play it and like kind of like take my ideas in weird directions, that was very inspiring. It was not just exciting to release a game, but to see what other people would do with whatever characters or ideas I came up with.
That's really interesting. And also, like, so I was not part of the scene at that point, but I was like a spectator. I didn't post, I didn't comment or anything, but I was just like kind of watching, and I was playing all of the games, starting with like the first Rob Blanc game by Yahtzee.
That wasn't a Reality on the Norm game, but that was.
I'm talking about early AGS. Sorry.
Yeah, it has the distinction of being the first full game to be made with the engine.
Wow. And I just remember, and that would have been what, 2000, 2001, around.
Would have been 2000, either 2000 or 2001. I know I discovered the AGS and the AGS community like just after he had left the community. Yeah. So I never got to interact with Yahtzee when he was part of the community, but it was roughly around then. I don't know. Yeah.
And so, you know, I think a lot about, and I think what you were saying about Reality on the Norm is really interesting, because I think a lot about those games, which I haven't gone back and replayed. You know, maybe like it might be interesting to just kind of revisit like Rob Blanc and Larry Vales and some of these other like really embryonic.
Wow. Oh gosh. Yeah.
You know, AGS games. But it's really interesting because I was playing these games, and like I kind of associate like that particular era of those games as something that has like a very specific feel, and I don't even know what the correct way, like how to verbalize what it is.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
I know, because I'll tell you what my thoughts are about that.
Yeah, please.
Because even at the time, because adventure games were considered dead. Like,
Yep.
and this was, it's so quaint to think about it, because in 2001, when I first joined, they were considered, oh, these are dead, no one makes these anymore. And meanwhile, like, the year before Longest Journey came out, 2 years before that, the Last Quest for Glory game came out, and Gabriel Knight 3, and all these
There are
games.
copies of these things in stores somewhere still.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so like it seems quaint. Like, I remember someone made a Quest for Glory fan game in 2002, and it was like, oh my God, it's so retro. And the last game came out like 3 years beforehand. It was bizarre. It was wild. Crazy time. But it was, there was this weird sense like that we were the ones now making them.
Yeah.
And they were rough hewn and janky, but at the same time, no one else was making them. And
Right.
so this engine allowed folks like us to make these games. Like, the vacuum was filled with us. And it's not to say that we didn't. It's hard to put into words exactly, but it felt like being on the crest of something. Like, something was happening, and it was like this was something new, and the new technology at the time enabled us to do this. And so it was exciting because no one else had done this before, but we were doing it. And these are all games that we loved, and now we were making them. And it felt really cool to be a part of that. It's very esoteric and a bit, I don't know what the word is, but it felt, even at the time, it felt like, oh, we're doing important stuff. Even though in hindsight, it was like, oh, we're just making AGS games. But at the same time, no one else was making these games.
No.
There were other engines, but no, like, they weren't AGS. Like, AGS was like pretty much the engine that made these games, that enabled us to make these games.
I think back to that era, and I wasn't there in the early AGS games. I kind of missed that revolution, but not long before that, I was definitely very plugged into the adventure game fan community online, and I was on forums and everything like that. And something that probably isn't unique to adventure game fans, but I do think it's something that is very defining of this fandom is, from the time I started creating my Space Quest forum in 1996 and people started posting there, that desire among adventure game fans to create their own games always seemed very powerful. That even before these tools were readily available. I remember on my Space Quest forum, there were people making little click and play arcade style games with Space Quest sprites.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, certainly, once tools like AGS were available, we started to see people, certainly we saw countless announcements of games that were going to be made with it. And a few of them actually became games,
Yeah, some of them were even good. There was a lot of crap, no question. But, the ones that were really good, they felt like a miracle. I remember some of the ones that were big at the time. I still remember Plurgberg.
Yeah.
Even though the graphics were so blocky and basic, but it felt like a police quest game. It just and at the time, I think it was 2002, 2003. I mean, you look at it now. If you Google it, I mean, if you can spell it, don't ask me to spell it. Plurgberg.
Plurgberg.
You wouldn't believe that a game that looks like that. You wouldn't believe that a game that looks like that rocked the community, but it did. And it I don't know. Yeah, there was something very unique about that time. Also, when you're in these communities, because this is before social media, when you're in these communities, it feels like your whole world. It feels a lot. Sometimes it feels a lot bigger than it is, but it was kind of interesting to see which games like just broke out of the AGS bubble and like got written up on Adventure Gamers or Just Adventure or one of those websites back when those were a thing. That was exciting when one of my freeware games was written up on Adventure Gamers. I'm like, ooh, wow, big time now.
Big time, yeah.
That was so cool. I remember one of my Reality and the Norm games had a review on the Adventure Gamers forum.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, that blew my mind that, like, people were reviewing, quote unquote, I shouldn't put it in quotes, like, the game, even though if it was just on the forum. That was just, like, super exciting.
And, yeah, I think, when I think about those early games, like, and maybe I'm just repeating what you just said, is that there's just a real sense of, it's like, finally, now we're getting to make these. So it's like we've played every single one of these games and we know them chapter and verse.
And also there was no competition because no one was making these things. So where else, if you wanted to play adventure games, where else were you going to go? And that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And so you made like the freeware version of the Shivah, and then what was the thought of I'm going to sell this? Did it have such a strong reaction?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I originally made the Shivah. I had it was a weird time in my life because I had spent about a year doing like the English teaching thing in South Korea.
Yeah.
And before I left, I owned a little apartment, a little one-room studio in the East Village, and I had rented it out before I left. And when I came back, the woman living there had a few months left on the lease, so I wasn't going to kick her out. So I was living with my parents downtown, and they had just retired, and I had just turned 30, and I'm like 30 years old, living with my parents, and unemployed. I just felt like the biggest loser. So I went to a cafe with my laptop and made the Shivah. Spent however I made a point of being there from 9 to 5 because I'm like that's what what a job is. It's 9 to 5. So I had to at least be there from 9 to 5 working on this game, as a way to kind of pretend I was working, because I had just gotten home after a year abroad. I wasn't ready to like get a new job yet, but I, didn't want to like face the withering judgment glare of my parents, who have been very supportive. In case they're listening to this, they've been great, really supportive the entire time. But at the time, like I doubt no one, I didn't take myself seriously back then. But anyway, I made the game, and it was released for a jam. It was like a month-long jam. And I realized I kind of couldn't envision doing anything else. Because most every other job I had, I really didn't enjoy at all. And I had money saved up from my time in Asia and the rent I'd collected from the woman living in my apartment. And so when I moved back into my apartment, I'm like, well, when am I going to have the opportunity? I've got money saved up. I'm not working. Like, it's now or never, right? So I just went for it. And at the time, it was like, it was a weird thing to do. It was just the indie thing was just starting to become a thing. But we weren't even calling it indie back then. I don't know what we were. I did call myself like a independent game developer, but we didn't use the word indie like we do now.
Do you know what the first commercial AGS game was? What was it?
The Adventures of Fat Man.
The Adventures of Fat Man.
Mm-hmm. That was, I think, either 2002 or 2003.
Okay, so early.
Yeah, he kind of paved the way. And the next one was, I believe, Alamo by Himalaya.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that was not. I played Alamo a very long time, like around then.
I know they were like the remake kings because they remade a bunch
King's
of Sierra
Quest.
games, and like they remade King's Quest 2 and made it good. They added so much extra story and stuff to
Yes.
it and made it into a cohesive story, and it was really good. And they were kind of known for doing these really great remakes of Sierra games, and so they decided to sell a commercial game. And I haven't played it myself, but I know that then they did what do you call it?
They did the
Mage's Initiation.
Mages, yeah,
about a decade
Quest
or
for
so
Glory
later.
type game.
Yeah, and then I think I don't know if there was another game between Alamo and the Shivah, but if not, I was the third.
Mm-hmm. And what was real, like, because now it goes up on Steam and GOG and like itch or wherever, like online, like there's a whole ecosystem for it that doesn't exist in 2006.
No, it did not.
So
it did not.
How do you do that?
Oh gosh, I mean, well, it's funny because this is I love plugging this game because no one has ever heard of it, and yet it kind of inspired me. There was a game I had in 1999. I had a Mac, and there were very few adventure games or games in general for the Mac. And one day I found this adventure game, and it was called Zero Critical. And I'm like, wow, this looks interesting. And I found out it was made by one guy. And made in Macromedia Director of all things.
Oh.
And so he made this game himself. Wasn't very good. Was reviewed terribly. But I remembered it years later because in 2006 I'm thinking, could I do this? Could I do this? And I remember thinking about that game and how he managed to get this game in stores. Like if he could manage that, I could somehow manage to sell this online, I think. Mm-hmm. And so my brother-in-law was like a web developer. He managed to create this very basic online shop for me, which didn't work very well. It could only take orders through PayPal. But or people could like mail me cash, which some did. It was the weirdest thing.
Wow.
People would mail me. It was $5. It was a $5 game. People would mail me like foreign currency. And, I'd have to like take the subway across town to a bank that would change it for me. Like by the time I, paid for the subway ride and back, like most of the money was gone. Like I don't know why I bothered. But back then it was just whatever you did. It was just whatever you could do to make it work. I did not want to get, like I said, I didn't really enjoy or like any other job I had. And I kind of had this like manic feeling of like this has to work, or I'm gonna like get one of those crappy jobs again, like this has to work. And I just sort of kept going until I guess eventually it did somehow work.
And Blackwell Legacy comes out pretty shortly after that, right?
Yeah, the commercial version of the Shivah came out in August, and then the Blackwell Legacy came out in December. Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
They're very short games. They're very short, but that's like it was kind of the most unintentionally smart thing I ever did because I didn't have a lot of money to work with. I didn't have a lot of experience. No one knew who I was. I had no clout. No one took me seriously. I had some reputation in the freeware community, and I managed to get like some people to like work with me very, very cheaply. But the fact that the game was really, really small kind of helped there because it's one thing to like do a fun, cheap project, for free or for cheap, for a game that's only a few months. But if you're asking someone to work for like years, like you can't do that. Mm. So I having really small games enabled me to get stuff out. And so, but I still nearly killed myself getting it done. Like I still remember the week because I promised that the game would be out on a certain day. And back then I'm like, well, I said it would come out on this day. I can't delay it. You can't delay games.
Delay a video game. Yeah, come on.
And I like that week I barely slept. It was insane. I remember like the night before launch, like going out at like 3 a.m. for like a pizza because I hadn't eaten that day, and just thinking, okay, I know I'm not going to sleep tonight. I didn't sleep last night. Did I sleep the night before? I don't remember. And then, the game came out, and of course, like my marketing strategy was just like post about it on my mailing list and a couple of forums and went to bed. Like that was my marketing. And it wasn't an overnight success, shocker. So like I had a lot to learn, but I knew that I could not live that way. I could not do that to myself ever again.
Self-imposed crunch.
Yeah. But I mean, at least I got it done, but I think maybe I saved 2 months, maybe, because the game is so small. Like if it came out a month or two later, big friggin' deal. But like I'm living alone in a one little studio apartment. I was the only one really crunching. All the art had been done, so I didn't harm anyone but myself. I would never ask anyone else to do that on my behalf. But doing it to myself is totally okay. But I try not to do that now.
I'm curious, within the AGS community, was there any pushback as some of these commercial games started coming out, or were people just happy to see people take it to the next level? I'd love to hear about that, because
it's so wild to think about it now. I mean, it's because these games should be free. The engine was free. Like everyone was used to playing these games for free, and so like I don't know, people kind of resented the fact that I was asking for money. But it was easy to ignore, I think. Because what else could I do, right?
Yeah.
It was a big issue when I released the Shivah as freeware. And then I decided to sell it. So I got some of the graphics improved, and I added the voice acting and the commentary, because I thought, well, I need to give it some value to justify charging for it. And so I released it. I released the commercial version, but then not many people bought it, mainly because again, like no one knew who I was, but also at the same time, the freeware version was still out there. And I remember thinking, well, it's a kind of a dick move, but I need to see if there's something there. Like I can't really test if I can sell this game when there's a free version out there. So I removed the freeware version, and people were not happy about that, and I understand. But like I needed to see. I needed to see if I could sell this. Like I could like do marketing and push it like crazy, but if there was a free version out there, I would never see for sure if it worked. And I mean, it never became a huge success. The Shivah was probably a game that was always talked about more than played, which is, I guess, fine. In hindsight, that was a good thing, because I was just starting out. Like I need to get the word out about myself, and so I guess because the subject matter, I was like, oh, rabbi, that's weird, and so people would write about it or talk to me about it, and that was kind of cool. And I think the online shop that my brother-in-law set up would take orders through PayPal, as I said. And I got a PayPal card. It was like a debit card that just, took the money from PayPal. And I still remember this. I was out at dinner with a few friends of mine, and I had a really good sales day that day. And because they took orders through PayPal, I got the money right away, or my PayPal account got the money right away. And we got the bill from the dinner, and I'm like, I could totally pay for this. I'm going to check this out. And I took out the card. I'm like, this is on Rabbi Stone. And I put the card down, and I felt so proud of myself. Again, it felt really good to be able to do that. And yeah, so that was really cool. Sorry, I completely forgotten your question. I kind of got lost in the weeds.
Because I could remember the question was about selling an AGS game, because even at the time, like because I remember thinking, and I don't think I was aware of your games actually until maybe like I remember reading about the Blackwell games on Rock Paper Shotgun.
Oh really?
They were
Okay.
So probably Deception. Maybe. Anyway.
It was probably after Gemini Rue.
Yeah, it was.
Because that was the game that kind of put us on the map. And then that's when Rock Paper Shotgun started writing about us. That's when like a lot of major outlets started writing about us. But it was interesting back then. What I had to do to just get these games sold was just like I approached every basement dwelling blogger and YouTuber, and just if they showed any love to any indie game, I would be like, hey, you want here's a download link to my game. If you want to review it, here it is. And then once I got, once that reached a critical mass, I could kind of take that to a bigger outlet and be like, hey, you want to review? Like, look at all the attention the game has got. Maybe you would like to try. That just sort of, it was just like building the foundation brick by brick, I like to call it, because it felt like I was making no traction, making no progress. But what was interesting is like, Blackwell Legacy did not sell very well at first, but I just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And, I'd get 10 sales here, 15 there, whatever. And then I got the next game out a year later. And because I had done all that work, suddenly all of those people, they all came back for the second one. And so that was like, oh wow, look at all these customers I've got, and that was really cool. So I could sort of see things growing. And the fact that the games were small and I was able to get them out reasonably quick, without breaking the bank or my energy or myself, I was able to kind of slowly and very organically grow. And I think that was the one thing I did unintentionally smart. And I realize that is not the answer to your question. Again, no, I'm really sorry.
But no, I think it's probably great advice for people who are thinking, how do I someday be on a podcast talking about 20 years of my successful indie game development studio. And that's fascinating because, I think that, we've all seen around this community, it's like these projects don't get off the ground without ambition, but overly ambitious projects have a way of not reaching completion. And building that slowly with small games and gaining a reputation for quality and gaining a reputation for a good gameplay experience and things like that. That sort of slow build, you sort of see how it pays off on the long end of that. And you said it was after Gemini Rue that you really thought you'd made that breakthrough into people knew who Wadjet was at that point? Yeah,
because we had progressed far enough along. I published a game called Puzzlebots. And I thought, well, these games, it seems quaint to think about this now. I was saying that a lot. Wow, this is quaint, wasn't it? How these games took a year, at least a year to make, and I used to think that was a long time. But the margins were so tight. If I had one flop, that was it. I would have nothing else left in the tank. And I thought, well, maybe I had just been published by somebody, and I thought, well, maybe I could publish somebody else, and pay them to make a game for Wadjet, and then that would spread out the risk a bit. And so we made Puzzlebots. And with a developer named Aaron Robinson, who now is working for, oh my God, they make Horizon Zero Dawn. Guerrilla.
Oh wow! Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she's working on Horizon Zero Dawn now, which is awesome. But we made this game Puzzlebots, which is the small cute game about robots. It's adorable. And then that kind of cemented me as a publisher, which was cool. And then Josh Nurnberger was working on Gemini Rue. And he originally wasn't going to sell it, but then decided he wanted to sell it because he thought it was good. And he's like, would you be interested in publishing this? And I played a build. My wife and I played it together, and we were on the edge of our seat. We loved it.
It's a very tense, I remember when I first played it, it pulls you.
It blew my mind. He was in college. He was in high school when he started making it. He was a sophomore in university when he finished it, and he made this brilliant thing. And so he asked me if I wanted to publish it, and I said, yeah, let's do it. And so we added the voice acting. We got some of the art redone. We got through some QA at it, and essentially took care of it. And it took off. It really did. It blew everything we did out of the water. And that's when more mainstream attention started to look at us. We got a big write-up on Giant Bomb, which was really cool. It practically shut down our website, all the traffic from Giant Bomb. I ended up making a special deal with them, a special Giant Bomb discount if you go through Giant Bomb or whatever, because I was just so thankful to them. And so that was really cool. So, but at the same time, you can't say, oh, if it wasn't for Gemini Rue, we'd be nowhere. But the thing is, like, I always think of it as like it's that foundation. It's like because we had done all that stuff beforehand, like we were able to take advantage of a game like Gemini Rue. If we hadn't done Puzzle Bots, we wouldn't have like been a publisher. If we hadn't done the Blackwell games, like no one would know who we were. Like we had already gone on a reputation. So it's like everything built on what came before. And after Gemini Rue came out, that sort of made me think, oh, well, this is a really good business model. But Gemini Rue was kind of lightning in a bottle because it was handed to us practically complete. And I knew that was not going to happen again, probably. So we looked for other games that could maybe use some help getting the rest of the way. And so 2012 was like the year we published. We did a lot of publishing that year. We did and after Gemini Rue came out, that's when Blackwell Deception came out the same year. So that's why you probably heard of it, because like people were talking about us that year, and that was cool. But 2012, we published a game called The New Guys, Resonance, and Primordia. And Primordia is a game that really took off. Like Primordia did really, really well.
Primordia is absolutely the game that I remember, like in just various like adventure game threads that I would just see come up constantly.
Yeah. I mean, it actually, it was kind of a perfect storm. Like the launch, just like, it was funny because with every game we would submit to Steam and they would reject us. And we'd have to do this whole big song and dance, like push for preview coverage, make a whole pitch package, send that to Valve and be like, please take us. But every time we'd have to do that, they wouldn't just accept us, even though by that point, I think we had 7 games on Steam.
Is this Greenlight era?
Yeah, well, that's what they did. I submitted Primordia to them and they're like, why don't you just go to Greenlight? And so, all right, we'll go to Greenlight. And so put the game on Greenlight. And since Greenlight was a new thing,
and for those who are unfamiliar, what was Greenlight?
Greenlight was basically you could submit, rather than have to go through the approval process through Valve. Excuse me, you would submit your game and need to get votes from Steam players, and then every month the game with the top 10 number of votes would just get accepted to Steam. And so like, all right, well, I guess we're doing this. And it just, I'm trying to explain what happened. It's just so bizarre. Because we were known, Wadjet I was known. I just went to my mailing list, and Twitter was the thing at the time, and just my community, whatever. And we like, I guess, please vote for our game. And it went through the ranks really fast. And then all these articles started to come out about Greenlight, and a lot of them, they noticed, like, why is Wadjet on Greenlight? And I think because at Valve at the time, the rep I had left the company, and so the new rep, no one knew who I was, so they pushed me to Greenlight. Like, what is this? Go to Greenlight. And so, like all these articles coming out are like, why is Wadjet on Greenlight? This is very silly. And so that just gave us more attention. And so it just zoomed through the ranks, and because it was going through quickly, they just let us through. They just put us on Steam. They're like, yeah, we're not going to wait for you to get in the top 10. You're just in. And because of all that attention, and what was interesting is that the game came out in November, towards the end of November. So the game got all that attention, and so that helped with the launch. And then in December, this was back when they had very curated holiday sales. Now the holiday sales is like every game on Steam is on sale.
Yes.
But back then they chose which ones were on sale. And because it had all this attention, and they decided, like, hey, you want to put this game in the holiday sale? I'm like, well, the game just came out 3 weeks ago, but you don't say no. At that time, you did not say no when that kind of thing happened. So, like, okay. And of course, that just gave it even more attention, because back then, being on the front page of Steam was a license to print money. Like, it was just, so that game was probably still our most like successful launch in terms of its first month. Like, it just went whoosh, it just did so well. but it was a perfect storm of all these wonderful things. And maybe the game is good as well. I hear that matters.
Yeah, sure.
I'm curious. Good game.
Maybe the game, maybe the game is actually good too. But it's like there's so many good games that that aren't a success, and it was just interesting how that game just had a perfect storm of so much like good stuff happening that just really pushed it, and that was really cool. Like when that was like, oh wow. And of course then there are games where it's just a perfect storm of suck, where it just everything goes wrong that you can't predict. So yeah, that was really cool. And so yeah. So the Wormwood guys were quite happy with that. For the most part.
What I've like, hearing your story of like just this constant like kind of persistence, it sounds like this is like kind of a story of both like there's luck but also being prepared to like accept like that you're there for like a really great opportunity when it happens.
Exactly.
And hearing this, and even like when getting ready to have this conversation and like kind of reading up on these 20 years, it's like I kind of think about, so I have a friend, like one of my listeners know, like I'm a big pinball guy. I'm a competitive pinball player. And here in Chicago, I knew this guy, and he was Twitch streaming pinball, and like for an audience of like 5 to 10 people. And he was one of the first people to do it. He built like a rig. He set up a rig. There were multiple cameras, like one camera over the table and a camera pointing at like the screen so you could see the score, and then a third camera pointing at the player. And then he built these great graphics and all of this stuff. And I remember thinking like, dude, damn, Jack, like that's so much work for something that no one cares about. And now Jack works at the Pinball Factory and was a co-designer of the Pokemon pinball machine, and is like his stream became like massively successful, and like he was just doggedly like he saw something that I did not. like he just had this vision. And I don't think if you asked him back when he started streaming all those years ago, was like, would you imagine like 10, 15 years later that you'd be working at the Pinball Factory and designing pinball machines? I don't think he would say yes to that. I think he was just kind of keeping it, like he just knew that he was just going to keep following, like pulling this string, Yeah,
that's all I've done. And it's just, you can't really, it's not enough to like hope for luck or good opportunity. Like you need to be in a good position to take advantage of those new opportunities. Because I know that year 2012 was the year so many like amazing things happened that year. Not just these 3 games I published, but like there was Indie Game the movie came out that year.
Oh, right.
And that was suddenly like being indie was cool, and I kind of I was a part of that because I had been, indie for a while. The Double Fine Kickstarter happened that year. And so suddenly, journalists wanted to talk about adventure games, and being a guy who had been making them for 6 years at that point, I was interviewed more often that year than any time in my career.
You were an elder statesman at 6 years at that point.
6 year veteran of the industry, yeah. And so, and also we had finally gotten a bunch of our other games on Steam through. It's a long story. We gotten like our back catalog on Steam. And like I said back then, like it was a license to print money when you're on the front page. So like that was a very good year financially. But then there are so that was a really good year, but there's other years that have sucked. But like all these great opportunities happen. Also bundles became a thing. Bundles started happening. And because we had this reasonably sized back catalog, we can now put all our older stuff in bundles and like bring in money that way. And so it was like we were just able to take advantage of opportunities as they came because we had been around for a while and kept going, and we were able to take advantage of these neat opportunities. Excuse me. You never know. You can't plan for that stuff. Like I didn't plan for Double Fine to have a Kickstarter and like earn like all the money in the world, however money they earned. It just happened, And of course, then like all those Kickstarted adventure games came out, mostly to lackluster reviews, and suddenly journalists didn't want to talk about adventure games anymore, and so that sucked. But whatever, it happens. There's always like ebbs and flows in any industry, and this is no exception.
Can you think of a moment where like you have a couple games out and you kind of like was there ever a moment of like kind of exhale? It's like, all right, like when did you look around and go like, oh, this is real now? Or are you waiting for that moment? Is that going to come in 25?
I remember this moment.
All right.
Because and it's funny because in the long run, this almost destroyed Wadjet. I almost shut our lights off. But back in I guess it was 2009. It was around 2009 or so. Like I was still struggling. I was still really struggling to push my stuff. And I was friendly with a developer named Amanda Finch, who did a game series called Aviant. I don't know if you've heard of Aviant.
Not familiar.
But which is a shame because she basically started the RPG Maker, like selling RPG Maker games commercially. Like that, but basically she started that. Mm-hmm. She did all of her artwork from scratch, and started selling these games, and they did really, really well. But then that market kind of ate its own tail, and it became very hard for her to sell them eventually. But during the mid to late zeros, the mid to late aughts, like she was doing extraordinarily well, and she did really well on the casual portals like Big Fish and Play First and iWin and Alawar and all them. And I was chatting with her, and she says, you should try to get on those websites. I think your games would do really well. And I thought, well, like my games aren't casual, like they just really aren't. But she introduced me to the folks at Big Fish, and they, I think the first 2 Blackwell games were finished at that point, and they agreed to take them. And so we released them, and I remember, like I didn't have like proper Wi-Fi in my apartment because I had no money, and I would go to it was like 3 a.m. and so I went to this 24-hour Starbucks in Union Square, like sitting between two homeless guys.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah. No, I grew up outside of New York.
No way. Okay.
I grew up in Connecticut. Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, there was I think that Starbucks isn't there anymore, but so yeah, I'm like surrounded by homeless people working on, just thinking what I should do, and suddenly I get an email. I get the royalty report from Big Fish, and the amount was like the most I'd ever earned in a single month. Like it was like it was like $15,000 that my take was like $15,000. That was the most I'd ever earned in a month. And it's especially weird because Big Fish takes 70%. They don't give you 70%. They take 70%. And so that was because also their business model was very different back then. I wasn't upset about it. Mostly because that was the most money I had ever seen at one time in a while. And like I remember thinking, oh my God, like I've made it. This is like I'm earning money now. Oh my God. And I remember I was like, I just closed my laptop and just like walked out of the Starbucks and kind of like blearily walked home thinking like, just like kind of walking on air, like I've done it. Like it's taken 3 years, but here I am. And then the next month, like Blackwell and Bound went up and did the same. And I'm like, well, this is my audience, I guess. This casual audience is where I should like direct my focus. That's who I should be making games for. And then when I released the next game and sold it on the casual sites a couple of years later, like it bombed. Like it bombed on the casual sites because they just moved on to like other types of genres. Like they were very into cute pixel art games, but now they're into the gritty hidden object games. And so like suddenly the Blackwell, even though I think Blackwell Convergence is probably the best looking of the first 3 games, Like it's got the best art.
Oh, yeah.
But they hated it. They thought it was so ugly. But they never said anything about the first 2 games. But conversions, they're like, ugh, this is gross. This is so ugly. Are the graphics really that bad? Oh my God, is something wrong with my monitor? What's wrong with this game? They hated it. And that kind of, so like I said, like at first I thought, oh, I made it. But then it's like, oh crap, like I thought like I had cracked the code. I would just put my games on the casual sites and then I wouldn't have to think about marketing or whatever ever again. And so like I'm kind of telling the story out of order. That's when I like started approaching, like the bloggers and the YouTubers and all of that to try to get as much coverage, because I realized I kind of had to do things. I really had to work to get real attention. And like I shouldn't focus on like on what like a hypothetical casual audience might want. I can only really, because I have no way of knowing what the market, like what's the hot, where the market's at, like what's the hot genre. I have no idea. Companies with millions of dollars to burn have no idea. They get it wrong. I don't have a prayer. So all I can really do is make the games I want to make. It taught me a real lesson, And so I was very lucky that didn't like destroy me, but it did almost shut off my lights, like the company's lights, because suddenly it was like, okay, this is how I'm going to be earning my money. And then I'm like, I'm earning no money. And I had to quickly shift to like figure out the best way to like move forward. And that was, you gotta, the industry changes constantly. And there's things you can predict and there's things you can't. You just have to be flexible.
Something I think about, I mentioned earlier, I think that Wadjet has deservedly developed the reputation of, people expect a pretty high level of quality out of these games. You have a history of producing.
No pressure, God.
Well, yeah, I mean, don't mess it up now, Dave. But I mean, even when I was away from the adventure gaming community for a few years, and it really kind of popped back in 2012. And I know when I started talking to people on social media, that's when I first joined Twitter, and all my old adventure game buddies from through the years are like, you've got to play the Wadjet games. It's like, this is what you've missed. This is what you got to go back and do. And I'm really curious, when you're working in your capacity as a publisher, what sort of steps do you take as a publisher to make sure that these games are, building on that existing reputation? And it sounds like some of these you stumbled on, a game like Gemini Rue that was like ready to go, and you come in and help put the finishing touches on it. Like, what does that look like for you? How hands-on are you as a publisher? It
depends. Okay. Some games are more hands-on. Some games we like do. There's a game like Resonance, for example, where my wife handled a lot of the programming. A game like Techno Babylon, where we did all the art. I personally wasn't as involved, but like the company was involved. Like the artist I hire to do art for Wadjet, I did the art for Techno Babylon. Right? That is Ben Chandler, yes.
I really love Techno Babylon. That's a really good
thank you. I love
gorgeous
it too.
Game.
Thank you. Some games I'm less hands-on, like Gemini Rue, for example. Like that was practically done. Primordia was interesting because I kind of came in like toward the middle, and so for the most part, like it was a team of 4, and they all worked really well in tandem. There was the artist and the writer and the programmer and the composer, and they all did their things. They all are incredibly talented. And so all these 4 disciplines came together really, really well. And I sometimes had to like step in and like try to, corral them or like try to move things forward or whatever. Because as a publisher, my priority is just to get things done. And it's like, yes, I know it's not quite perfect, but like we can't spend another 3 months on this. Let's just go. Stuff like that. So it depends. Always depends on the project. And a lot of them are just kind of like, it's a gut feeling. Like I might take a project on just because I like it. I might have no idea how well it's going to do. You say, how does it build on the previous things? I have no idea. I just think, I like this. Like that was Hobbs Barrow for me. I played their demo. And the first thing I thought was like, this needs voice acting. I wonder if they have no plans for voice acting, I'm going to ask to publish it and offer to do the voice acting, because I really wanted to do the voice acting for it, like direct it and cast it and stuff like that. And they agreed, and that was awesome. Especially working with Sam Bayard, who's just wonderful.
That's a really fun voice cast. That's a very fun voice cast.
And also, it was I knew all these British voice actors, and I really welcomed the opportunity to work with all the British voice actors I know. And it's a point of pride when people tell me that, because they're not just British accents, they're Yorkshire accents.
Oh.
And so the fact that people tell me, not a British person, that the accents are very authentic, makes me feel very good. I mean, my wife is British, but the problem with a lot of it was that if the accent was really good, I couldn't understand it sometimes, and if the accent was really bad, I couldn't understand it. So I worked with the developers to like make sure everything was right, and I was very happy with how that turned out. Anyway, you get me talking about voice acting, I won't stop, just to warn you.
I'm curious about that, because it's like, I know that, having played a bunch of, like, I know that you are involved in directing, and I know like the voice acting, and I know that like there's certainly like some actors that you'll hear a lot, and I feel very embarrassed I didn't write his name down. Joey, he's
Abe Goldfarb.
Yeah, Abe, yeah, like he's in
one of my oldest friends. I've known him since we were like 13 years old. It's crazy. We went to summer camp together. That's how I know him.
Yeah, was that?
We went to summer camp together.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. We were in shows, and he ended up becoming the actor. So there we go.
That's fun. Yeah. And so it's like, I know I'm playing. It's like I hear him come in, and I'm just like, oh, there he is.
He will always, like at least for my stuff that I write, like he will always have a place. He will never have to audition. Like, you're playing this guy. Okay, let's go.
But
yeah.
How did you like start to approach, like, obviously this is something that you really enjoy and that you like to do, and you've done both on your own games and a bunch of the produced ones. How is this just something that like you just got better at as you went along? Do you have much acting background? Or,
I mean, I did some theater and stuff. I've always been like, I liked directing. I directed like little TV shows in college, but I never really did. I guess how I got started was with the Shivah. How I decided, I think I mentioned earlier how when I decided to sell the game, I was trying to figure out ways, how could I make this worth spending money on? And the first thing I thought of was voice acting. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was, first I knew that Abe would do Rabbi Stone, because he was like one of the strongest actors I knew, and I needed someone I could trust with a large role like that. Although it's funny because we are like closer in age to Rabbi Stone now than we were then. I mean, he's like doing like the gruff old voice, and now he is like almost that age. Time just keeps happening. But the rest of the cast, I was part of an improv group at the time. Mm-hmm. And I just sort of pulled from that. I asked if anyone would be interested in doing voiceover work for this little game. Again, like I said, a short project. I would like take them out for pizza afterward. I couldn't really afford much, but as long as everyone's on the same page and is agrees and there's no surprises, like, especially when you're like small and scrappy and struggling, I think people are generally okay with that. Like when you're more established in doing that, not as good. But so I these were friends. I'd bring them in and they'd record, and I had no idea what I was doing. I had a headset mic like this, $20 from Radio Shack. Because and I would just like plop the mic on the headset on the actor and be like, all right, go. I never adjusted levels. I did not know the term breath pop, which is obvious if you play the game. Some of the actors really blow out the mic, but I people, no one really seemed to, no one minded. Like it doesn't sound bad, and I use that same headset mic from the Shivah all the way up and including Gemini Rue. Which is, considering how big Gemini Rue ended up being, the fact that I use this dinky little headset mic to record the voice acting. No one, and I said, listen to it now, it still sounds fine. Still sounds great. I don't know how. There was something magic about the acoustics in that old apartment. I don't know what I did. But then I got a proper mic. I got like a Blue Yeti, I think, for Blackwell Deception. And then everything after that was recorded on the Blue Yeti. And then my wife and I had our kid, and we moved to a Brooklyn apartment. And something about like the acoustics are all wrong. I could not get anything to sound right in that apartment. And I think Golden Wake and Blackwell Epiphany were recorded from there, and I cringe. There's a scene at the beginning where people are like, wow, I really, you're in this like big abandoned building, like I really like the echo filter you put on the characters, really makes it sound real. I'm like, nope, I did not put a filter on it. That was just the crappy acoustics in my apartment.
I came standard with the apartment.
That was, unfortunately, that was like this first scene I recorded, and later I like started putting pillows and blankets on the wall, and I could never get it to sound right. And I gave up and started renting a studio in Midtown. But in turn, I kind of got sidetracked. But getting better as I went along, I think, like it was the actors. I just had working with good actors gave me a really good, a strong instinct for other good actors, because I knew. Sorry, what?
Yeah, no. I mean, you have this existing relationship with Abe, who obviously he's a very talented voice actor, and so I assume that that makes it a little easier if you're already starting with like somebody you have an existing relationship with. I'm sure.
Oh God, yeah. Well, there's an element of trust, especially for a lead role. For the most part, with some exceptions, I will usually cast somebody I know in a lead role, because I need to trust them. I need to know them, That's why I had met Rebecca a few times before she did Rosa. I knew the only exceptions were Techno Babylon. The actresses who played Max Lau and Latha, I didn't know beforehand, but I had worked with a casting director who I did trust. And she found them, and they were both great. Like, they were both wonderful. So that's now I cast them in everything. Ariel is like my go-to lady. I cast her in so many things. But yeah, I love the process. Just watching, because there's something about voice acting that's very grounded and very internal. It's like you can tell that an actor's connecting to something, right? It's like, if they're like a space captain, like maybe they're not believing they're a space captain, but they're connecting to something where they believe they're in a position of authority, and it's just seeing that come out and the microphone picks it up. It's like magic. It's undescribable. I love seeing that in action. I love working with the voice actors. They're some of my favorite people. A lot of them have become dear friends of mine, and yeah, I love it.
I mean,
and I think it's one of the hallmarks of the brand. I mean, I think the voice acting, is something that I think just receives consistent praise.
I feel very proud. I feel very proud because some folks they will cast an actor that's already well known. Like, oh, this person's already famous. I want them. I like what they did in something else. I'll hire them. And then typically I will go through the audition, and I end up working with them and they're brilliant. And then I later see them go on to do amazing things. And I just feel this pride, like, I knew it. I knew I saw something in you. Like seeing Sam Bayard go on to do Karlach in Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, like, that's cool. Like, that made me very, very happy. And some of the other actors, Dave Jones, he was in Hobbs Barrow. He did Halsin in Baldur's Gate 3. And just seeing all these actors, like, kind of blow up and just become really big. Like Abe, he was in Pokemon. He was on, he was on Broadway. He was in Beetlejuice. He's just done so many countless things. Like Sarah O'Malley, who I used to work with regularly, she's now in LA, like working with Jennifer Hale. Tiana Camacho, she's in like every anime ever now. It's just all these actors are just that I've worked with when they were nobody. But I knew they were talented, and I could see it. I'm like, come be in my game. Now they're all too cool for me, and that's sad. But it makes me very happy to like see them go on to do great things. Where it's like, oh yeah, I knew I saw something great in you. I feel very justified in my choice.
One thing I want to talk about with the games that you've designed. is that all of them, I believe, are set in New York.
Yes.
And that's something like for me, I've always really appreciated playing your games. First, again, like saying as I did earlier, I grew up in the suburbs, about I don't know, 90 minutes, 70 minutes on a Metro North train. And like you don't, or you didn't see cities as well represented. I'm not going to say they weren't, because there's the Manhunter games in adventure games. And like to me, my favorite part of like The Longest Journey is the first like 2 hours when you're in the city, and it like before a lot of the fantastical things even begin.
You're in Venice, I think.
Yeah, Venice, that's right. And it's based, I believe he went to like NYU, I think, so it's like kind of based on like his experiences there. I know that he's not a New Yorker.
I didn't know he went to NYU.
I think he
That's
did.
Really cool.
Hold on. I want to real time fact check myself.
I was going to say, because I lived right by the NYU campus. And I figured, maybe he was there at the same time. He couldn't have been, because Longest Journey came out the year I moved to New York. So he couldn't have been there at the same time.
So no, this would have been before. From 90 to 93, he was an undergraduate at Tisch.
I literally lived a block away from Tisch, so that's funny. That's really funny.
And so the Venice sequence at the start has always felt very like kind of like it always kind of felt like that area to me. And it also always felt to me when I would play it like kind of the romance of being young in a city, because you're April and I think you're 18, maybe 21, I forget.
She's in college, I know that.
Yeah.
And you know, you're in like this really crappy like not even a studio, like kind of a flop house type situation. With like really terrible neighbors on your floor, and a real like landlord that gets a little too involved in your life, and but it doesn't matter because it's so beautiful there, and like things are kind of ominous in this city, but it doesn't matter because like you've got all your really cool friends, and there's a lot of really beautiful art, and there's a lot of really like strange stuff going on anyway. And so like I don't know. I love games that take place in a city and like really capture like the feeling of the city.
I mean, that's what I tried to do, because I at the time when I made the first Blackwell game, I thought I wanted to do for New York what Jane Jensen did for New Orleans, and that was mostly, I'm like, well, I want to create like a like a supernatural conspiracy surrounding the city, but then mostly I just sort of wanted to write stories about the city. It sort of became, Blackwell over time became a story about urban isolation and kind of mirroring the feelings I was feeling at the time, and Rose's growing confidence kind of was mirroring my own. I put a lot of myself into these games, and I think putting them in New York, a city that I'm very familiar with and a city that I really love, even though I did leave it 2 years ago, but I'm able to bring that across. I always feel it's very esoteric. I get very esoteric when it comes to this stuff. Like, I always feel that you really need to be connected to whatever you're making. And because then you're able to, like, if I'm not connected to it, if I don't have a love for it, then I can't make you feel the love for it, right? And since I feel very connected and familiar and love New York City, I'm able to like make that bridge with the players. And it's no coincidence that most of the locations in Blackwell are within 5 blocks of where I lived, because you have like Washington Square, Grace Church, the Minetta Tavern, Astor Place, Tompkins Square Park. You had all these areas that are like right in my neighborhood. And then when we moved to Brooklyn, suddenly it's like, oh, we're going to Greenwood Cemetery. Like I lived a few minutes from there as well. We're going to Prospect Park. I lived right there. It's just sort of an easy shorthand for me to be like, I love this place. Now I'm going to make you love this place. And I'm kind of, and I get to, now that I'm out of New York, I don't know if I'll keep making games set in New York, but it's like it's a way of staying there. It's a way of kind of like remaining in the city, because I still love New York. We left for certain reasons, but it'll always be my first love.
Ben and I talk a lot about this on the podcast, just how adventure games that are able to establish that sense of place tend to be some of our favorites, Gabriel Knight, I think, is a classic example. And when I got to college and first had a chance to like travel anywhere on my own, one of the first trips I took was to New Orleans just to take kind of the Gabriel Knight walking tour. Cause
takes about
Sierra
5
nerd.
minutes, takes maybe 5-10 minutes, and then it's all in the same area.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like me and Blackwell. It's all in the same area.
Yeah, and that's certainly there in the Blackwell games. Ben and I have talked a lot about our love for Norco as a game that also does that in a really fascinating way. But I do think that sense of place is so huge, and I think when a game can nail that, even if it's even it's a fictional location, or in your case, sort of a real location that has this supernatural element overlaid on top of it. It can make the characters, the puzzles, the stories, everything else fall into place if you just feel like, okay, I kind of know where this is. I can I can feel it.
And I could visualize myself there. And often it's like someone remarked that, I don't do many big New York landmarks. I think you go to the Empire State Building at one point, but it's like in a parallel pocket dimension, so I don't think that counts. But all right, you go to the High Line, you go to like this restaurant that I'm familiar with, you go to like this park that I like, or whatever, the cemetery that's it's like my New York that I'm familiar with, because you live in New York, you don't go to the major landmarks. So.
No. You live in Chicago, you don't have deep dish, no,
but I mean,
you don't go to Uno's every week. I mean, you die if you did that, so probably don't go to Uno's every week.
I think it gives it not only like literal authenticity, but I think more importantly that sort of emotional authenticity that goes with it. When you can feel that the person who's made this game has a connection to this locale, and it comes through in the game itself.
That's also why sometimes my games take so damn long, because I'm hungering for that connection. Like I need to feel something, and that's not something that can be faked. It's like I just gotta like work at it and think about it and kind of shift and like, oh, what is it? Do I like this idea? What is it I like about this idea? And I have to home in on what I like about it before I can actually make it. I'm really jealous of like some developers or creators who just like, I'm making a game about Space Marines, and they just do it. They just make it. They're like, okay, and they just design it. Like they have that focus. They can just make it, and it's great. That's not me. I have to like really like, what is it about Space Marines that speaks to me? Like I have to like really go. I really have to go into the weeds. That was what I did with Old Skies. That took a while to like get down the throat of. It didn't help that I started it at the beginning of COVID. That didn't help. But when I finally did nail what I really liked about time travel and what I could do with it, then it was like it was not a pure pleasure, but it was a lot smoother sailing once I figured that out. And it seems to be resonating with a lot of people, that game. And I'm very happy about that.
And an interesting thing about like kind of thinking about Old Skies and Unavowed in very different ways. They're kind of looking at adventure or doing adventure games in very like non-standard ways, if you understand what I'm saying, in the sense that like Old Skies departs from like the pixel look that defines a lot of, and like Unavowed has a lot of like the BioWare in it. and it's like, in both of those games, like there's a, because I think right now, if you think of indie adventure game that comes out, there's a very specific image that you have in your mind. And so I was just kind of fascinated that those two games, especially Old Skies, which, like Ben Chandler got to do this, a completely different type of art.
Yeah, he asked to try it, and I saw no reason to tell him no. And it took longer, but that also gave me more time to work on the design, which time travel. Don't never make a time travel game. It's just it will break your brain. I am still recovering. It was a lot. Time travel is not for the faint of heart.
I wrote a whodunit play with a friend of mine many years ago, and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare writing it. It was a nightmare like arguing over whodunit with my friend.
That's the whole point.
And it was a nightmare also, like, and I'm sure this was very difficult with Old Skies and probably with other projects. Every time we made an edit, it wasn't clear, like with a whodunit, like, was this a load-bearing thing that we cut?
Yep.
Because
I did.
Your writer brain remembers all of the stuff and all of the motivation and all of the plot, even if you remove that Jenga piece.
Sally and I would joke because she was my sounding board for a lot of the process. Sally being the voice actress behind Fia. She did some writing on the game, and
oh, cool.
She was she did a lot of consultant and writing on chapter 4, the clock blocking chapter, and also like we just chatted a lot, and I bounced a lot of ideas off her because she was involved from the very beginning, and and Fia, like her backstory changed so often. Like at first it was kind of a military organization, then it was just like two people working in a garage, kind of like a Doc and Marty relationship. Another iteration, they were like married, Fia and Nazo, which lasted maybe 5 minutes. That did not work. And then it kind of, it kept changing. I kept rewriting it and changing it based on, oh, maybe Fia's more corporate. Maybe she's more like, maybe it's more military. Maybe maybe this, maybe that. And then Sally would always joke that actually gave her a good background for what it must be like to be Fia. Because her history does constantly change, and so like that. Okay, that worked great. Like not intentional, but I'm happy it helped.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm now I'm just kind of reliving how miserable it was to write that.
Mysteries are not as easy. They're harder than you think, because like there's not only the mystery that you're solving, but there's also the actions. There's also how the mystery is solved, and both. Sometimes like one is engaging, but not both. It's like the actual solution to the mystery maybe is not as interesting as the process of as uncovering it, and sometimes vice versa. Sometimes the actual mystery is really engaging, but like the actual actions you take to uncover it, no big deal.
Well,
you need to make both strong to be really good.
And for something like Unavowed, where you can swap out the characters that you're going to do each like kind of story mission, or like in how was like kind of designing that to have some sort of cohesive narrative where it's just like, oh well, I might pick these two characters instead of these two. Does that?
It was actually sorry.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
It was actually easier than I thought it would be. The only issue was that it took longer, and it was all stuff that I had done before. Like the writing, the characters, like all of that stuff I had done before. With Unavowed, there was just a lot more of it.
Right.
And so that was the big challenge. Like once I figured out the technical aspects of it, like how to, how does the game know which characters you have, blah, blah, blah. Like how do you detect which characters are with you? where do they stand, that kind of stuff. I After I did that, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was stuff I knew I could do. There was just a lot more of it, and it just took longer. That's all. And often it's just like I had to. I really wanted each path to be fun, and I also didn't just want it to be fun. I wanted you to also see the potential paths you're not taking. Like if you have like Eli and Mandana, for example, and you see a ghost, you know that if you brought Logun, you could have talked to that ghost.
Yeah.
So you think, oh, if I replay this, I don't want you to not see the ghost. If you don't see the ghost, you don't know you're missing anything, right? I wanted you to see what you were missing, so you would potentially think, I should play it again. But what ended up happening was that, like, if you saw, Madonna would climb things, Eli could fire read or set things on fire. Vicky could talk to, she was friendly with police officers. And if there was a police officer and you didn't have Vicky, or if there was like a drain pipe and you didn't have Madonna, the players didn't really get that upset. But if there was a ghost and they didn't have Logan, they did get upset. And so, because they really wanted to talk to that ghost, because that's an inherently interesting thing.
Yeah.
And so, what ends up happening is that they always take Logan with them.
I did.
And because Eli and Mandana have to be with you, one of them has to be with you, so you could never have a Logan and Vicky party. That meant Vicky was chosen the least, and I feel really bad about that.
I was going to ask, who is it that didn't get seen the most by the players? So it was Vicky.
Yeah.
Okay.
For that reason. Also, I think, my thought, I didn't really think of the player character. I thought of this group of four, and I thought, well, Vicky, she's the more mundane one. She's the most grounded. She's the one who can talk to regular humans without weirding them out. And I thought that's her dynamic. But then in actual practice, that's the player character. So Vicky didn't have all that much to do. Which again is my own design fail. If I ever do a sequel, I'll try to make Vicky a little bit more give her something more. But I love working with Ariel. There's a reason why I brought that character back in Old Skies, because I love working with Ariel and that accent.
Oh man, now I'm do I play the Vicky stuff?
Gotta play the Vicky stuff.
It's a game designed to be replayed. You don't have to, but it's there.
And it's been a while. I don't think I've played Unavowed since release.
I liked writing for Vicky because my thought process behind her is just, okay, Vicky says something. What's the absolute first thing that pops into my head, no matter how terrible? Because I just think of Vicky as me with zero filter. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. Okay, she's saying it. There we go. Whatever. She's saying that's terrible, but she's saying it. And for the most part, it seems to have worked.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jess, do you have any other questions?
Well, I mean, what's coming up next from Wadjet? Tell people what they can look forward to.
Okay. Well, there's two games we are publishing at the moment. There is Nighthawks by Richard Cobbett.
Very excited for that one. I'm a backer on that one. Can't wait to see how that one turns out.
Sorry it's taking so long, but it's getting close. He's making a lot of progress this year. Richard was dealing with a lot of stuff. He's for the most part over it, and he's just been the game is fully playable. Everything's in there. We're just testing it a lot because there's a lot of choices, a lot of paths, a lot of branching. Mm-hmm. Even though the game took a long time, you will not be disappointed by short content. There's a lot in there.
The demo was very cool.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad.
Absolutely.
It's shaping up really cool. The testers are loving it. It's all the characters are just so great. He's such a great writer.
Yes.
So I'm really looking forward to that. There's also Guilt, which is a GILT, which is being spearheaded by Ben Chandler. He asked if he could write the next game, and I said, yeah, let's go for it. And so he designed I knew at the very minimum it would look good, because it's Ben, but the design is excellent. The characters are great. The world he created. He's doing this gonzo sci-fi fantasy world, which isn't normally in our wheelhouse, because usually I'm all about urban fantasy, but this is fantasy, sci-fi, gods, magic. It's awesome. So he's been working on that for about a year. He submitted the first chapter to the testers. They seem to really like it. And so, yeah, we're working on those. I'm not quite ready to talk about what I'm working on next. I have an idea. I'm not 100% sure I'm doing it. So we'll see. I'm taking my time, because, there's other projects happening. So I can take the time, and I'm quite happy to give myself the grace to recover still and figure out what I'm going to do next.
I think what's really exciting about both of those games, Guilt and Nighthawks, is that both Ben and Richard are such thoughtful writers about adventure games.
Yes.
Richard,
You're right.
Like, he wrote all these wonderful pieces for PC Gamer all those years ago.
It's a long while ago,
which
yeah.
are wonderful. And then Ben...
Still some of the best writing on the genre out there, hands down. I mean, yeah.
Wow.
And
I'll tell him you said so.
Ben, he had... I mean, I think it's still out. I think it's still up there. I don't know if he updates it that much anymore since he's busy on this project. But he had this wonderful blog where he would...
He just updated it the other day.
Oh, wonderful. Then I'll have to check it out. He has a blog where, he analyzes art in adventure games from the point of view as an artist, and provides such a thoughtful and interesting viewpoint that I really enjoy reading his writing about the art of these games, because I never quite thought of that, because why would I? I'm not an artist.
Ben and I worked together since full time. We've worked together since 2010 and full time since 2013. Wow. And my first worry when hiring him full time was oh my God, I hope, what if there's no work for him to do, and I'll just be paying him to do nothing. That has never happened. He has always managed to find something to do. And it's been really kind of great that he decided to spearhead the next project, because after Old Skies, I was burnt out. I crashed hard. And so I'm oh great. Now I was able to take the time, relax, recuperate. And now I'm kind of being a producer on both projects. And that's kind of nice. And that's the great thing about publishing, is that I can kind of, go through, I have the best of both worlds, where I do my own thing and I'm burnt out, and then I'm I can't even, the prospect of starting something new is just so daunting and so exhausting. But I can help other people with their projects for a year or two, and then after those are done, I can get all prima donna and be enough about their vision, what about me? And then do my own thing again. And it's been nice to be able to work that way, and just to have all these games and work with all these developers who, I've just learned so much from. And I consider myself extraordinarily lucky. I don't know, I just sort of fell into working this way. And as I said, as we all know, it's been 20 years, so I guess I did something right. And I just hope it keeps going. That's the only thing I hope for in life, is to be able to keep doing this for, as long as I'm able.
Well, thank you so much, Dave. And when this comes out, we'll still the Steam sale will still be going on, so be sure to check out all the various games. I think everything has some sort of discount.
Everything has a discount. Yeah, that's how you. That's what you do now. I said before, Steam used to curate it. Now it's just every game is on sale.
Just buy the publisher bundle. Just get the whole thing.
Just get the whole thing. Yep.
Yeah. It's one click. I'm sure there's an option there somewhere.
I don't even know if I have a publisher bundle.
I probably shouldn't advertise that if it doesn't exist.
I should set one up. There's I have. It's. I mean, I doing this 20 years. I still have no friggin' clue what I'm doing. There's just some basic stuff publisher bundle. I should do that. I just something that most developers or publishers would kind of know to do. I didn't even think about it. So that's me. How I've managed to keep going for 20 years is a mystery to me.
Be sure to check those out. And, and on our part, if you'd like to send us an email, questquestpodcast@gmail.com. and also rate and review and all that. And join us. Oh man, I didn't talk to Dave about this part. Join us next week when we talk about Space Quest 4. So, Dave, I'm going to get a little meta here. We're still recording. This is the part where we continue to talk on the podcast, and we talk briefly about Space Quest 4, a thing we're not going to do a podcast about.
Oh,
so
okay.
Wait,
what?
This is like 30 seconds.
Okay. Wait, so you're not doing a podcast on Space Quest 4?
No, we're not.
It's a running joke at this point.
Oh, is this a joke that you do every week?
Next week, there's always going to be Space Quest 4, and it's never Space Quest 4.
It's always off on the horizon.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We have a lot of people that like to hear Space Quest 4, and we're not giving it to them.
All right. Fair enough. It's yeah.
Do you have a
Gotta leave 'em
single
hungry.
Space Quest 4 thought?
It's time travel, so I have to love that.